Hi, today I wanted to talk a little bit about pricing for lessons. This is one of the areas that causes one of the biggest bones of contention when you discuss this at seminars and things, because people have got this idea that there is a set price for their way of doing business, and of course in reality there isn't at all. And it really sort of falls into the same market economics as anything else, in that you charge a price that the market can withstand. Now, there are a lot of people who fix a price because they don't believe they can charge any more, which is not the same thing, obviously. Your sort of belief in yourself. I went down to the coast the other day near where I live. It was actually in Rye. There's a couple of music shops down there, and there were a number of people who had cards out advertising guitar lessons with the price on the card, which is a little bit of a problem anyway. I'll come back to that in a minute, why that should be a problem. But they were all graduates of a music college that was quite close to there. And considering that they'd spent quite a lot of money studying music for 2 or 3 years, they were only charging somewhere in the region of £10 to £15 an hour. Well, I just find that absolutely unbelievable that people will be charging that little after they spent that sort of money learning the trade. Now, the point about this is that the emphasis really should be on the value of what it is that you're offering. If you're just teaching somebody to play an instrument as some sort of occupation, sort of a hobby, then obviously, in a way, you could look at it and think, well, maybe it's only going to be worth, £10, £15 an hour. But as soon as you change the perspective of what it is that you're offering, that you're expanding the mind of somebody, it's an essential skill for somebody to learn, particularly in this day and age, which is the ability to be creative, which, if anything, we're definitely going to need this as time rolls on, because, and I will cover this at some point, and I'll probably put this in one of the blogs that I've written. But the idea of just having lots of academic information rammed down your throat at school is not going to be of any use in the world that's sort of developing now, which is all about creativity, because there's going to be some sort of robot chasing after your, or algorithm chasing after your job, even as a skilled professional. So the ability to teach people to think the unthinkable and to conjure things out of nothing, which is really what artists do, there's a value to that, and you could sell it. You could sell that type of idea. Also, the things of self-confidence and all the rest of it. So, to give you some sort of idea of what pricing, obviously, a lot of people say, well, it's dependent on the area you live, and to some extent that is true because it's supply and demand. But that's all it actually is. So, I'll tell you a little story about a friend of mine who lives abroad. And I was out there doing some examining, and he actually said to me, do you know what the going rate for lessons are out here? And I said, and this was going back a few years now, but I said, I don't know, £20 an hour? He said, no, £4 an hour. He said, now of course we earn a lot less than you do in the UK. He said, but what I do is I charge everybody £4 an hour, and I stick them to 10 people in a room. So I teach 10 people at once at £4 an hour. So he's actually earning 10 times the rate that anybody else is charging in the area. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that go with that. He's an absolutely brilliant guitar player. He's obviously a very good teacher. He gets good results, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, yes, that is true. However, there is a mindset there about how you can make things work. And so often we get somebody, you know, when you do a seminar, and it's not just me, I've had a few people, friends of mine have done this, where they say, well, you know, I'm charging X, and they immediately, well, you can't charge that sort of money where I live, you know, and that, as if that's a blanket reason that you can't charge a reasonable amount of money. What I'm actually advocating is that you need to make a living out of this, so it means you need to charge enough money. You're not going to be working every hour God gives you, so you know you've got to work out how many hours you could possibly work and work your rates out accordingly. One little trick is when you're trying to get your foot in the door, find out what all your competition is charging and pitch it so that you're not cheaper than everybody else, but you're sort of in the middle somewhere. But you've got to look at what it is that you offer that's different from somebody else. And think about it, you know, read some books on marketing, just get out and use your noodle a little bit. The other thing about pricing is that you don't have to be the best to charge the most, but it has to be what you can offer. And if people keep coming back for lessons, people vote with their feet. So if you've got it wrong, they won't come back. Musicians have a terrible problem about being rejected, or artists, I should say, really, about being rejected. They don't like people turning around and saying, well, that, you know, I can't afford that, or whatever, you're too expensive. And they take it as a sort of a slight on their personality. But if you think about how much people are paying for mobile phones, computers, cars, you know, drinks when they go out, or any other stuff, people will spend a lot of money on the things that they think of value. So make sure that what you're doing is has got some sort of value. So going back to these characters down in Rye, they should have been charging at least double, if not triple, what they were stating that they were charging, considering that they'd had all this extra training and everything. So it's a case of really going on the features and of what it is and the results. One little lesson here, you know, when you go into a sort of a DIY place and you're going to go to buy a drill, you're not really wanting a drill, you want a hole. So think about that. It's just that the drill is the thing that you need to create the hole. So think about what that means from guitar playing point of view. I always come along with this sort of idea that really somebody's got a dream that they want to fulfill, and that's what they're going to achieve by having lessons with you. So that's what you're selling. Okay, right. Hopefully that's been useful. Although, okay, I didn't sort of quote figures and stuff at you. There are other aspects of this, but of course that is something which I'll go into in much more detail in the sort of membership section which I'm building up on my website. So there'll be more details about that as time goes on. Okay, so I'll speak to you soon. Bye.